taking some technical difficulties. Hi guys, it's me, the Blink Man, aka Anime, and I welcome to the kill count. Let's go over here. I forgot I'm not rich. Hello everybody, welcome to the kill count, where we tally up the victims from all of our favorite horror movies. I am Jaden Cecil, not James A. Jadis, and today we are looking at the Blink Man, one of Anime's first fantastic films, aka me. And it's not fantastic. In fact, it is very cringe. The movie literally I spent like $200 for the entire thing, and it has a run time of like almost 3 hours, which was an hour over what we wanted and expected. It's like it was supposed to be like 2 hours long, maybe an hour and a half at like minimum, 2 hours at maximum. Nope, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Just flown over my head. I'm like, wow, really? And I thought I wasn't gonna make it to an hour and 30 at first. Anyways, it's me. I'm going to do my own film as a kill count, because if my film doesn't pop up, I'm gonna be sad. So hi guys. We're gonna look at the film. Yep. Hopefully you guys watched it, because I don't really want to spoil this for you. But if you're just gonna watch this instead, hey, that's fine. And also, before we begin, big thanks to Dead Meat for inspiring this kill count. Otherwise, there will be no kill count, because where would kill count even come from if it wasn't for him? But anyways, yeah, let's begin. Our movie begins with a voice recording of these two boys, Joe Mama and Hunter Wilkes. Fun fact, I play Hunter Wilkes and Joe Mama in the voice recordings, but I just give people credit because I can, and I use their pictures anyway. So from what can be heard, our antagonist comes into the picture and kills our first character, Hunter Wilkes. Joe runs for his life but slides down a cliff, which hurts him. Like, what are these noises? Anyways, Joe Mama is... And we can see parts of our most likely to be protagonist character. Yeah, he leaves the room. Title card! The films bring up a couple of snapshots of the pilot of the movie. One of the first videos I uploaded on my channel, even though this is not a show. And our movie opens up to this dude. Wow. He explains that his parents are left for the summer, and he has to watch his brother, aka Neglect. We finally meet another character. His name is Paul Jersey, aka PJ. He's a little... Paul sends him to his room. Meanwhile, I'll kick him in the side of the head. But anyways, our protagonist is laying on the bed until he found out what to do this summer. No, not build rocket ships with birds. He assembles his camera and records. He explains a lot of weird things have been happening this summer and around his house recently. He explains that he was basically looking throughout the internet until he came across a tape that cursed him. He also explains that he has been communicating with this being by talking to the mirror. Night rolls by and he wants to see if he could catch the being in the act. He couldn't catch him, that sucks. But that doesn't stop him from going to Home Depot and buying more there. More cameras, basically like he's gambling all his money on cameras just to see if the Blink Man's there. On the way there, he's beaten up and spit out. Ew. And on his way back, he found out the mirror was touched again. Creepy. Our protagonist, aka Jack Jersey, destroys the evidence and goes around the house, setting up the cameras. After he finishes setting up the lights, he goes to bed. Hours later, he catches this being, destroying all signals so he could do his dirty business. Jack wakes up the next morning and is shocked at what he had found. He shows Nick and tells Nick about what has happened. He invites his other friend over and we are introduced to another character, Chris Cross. Chris Cross has been shown the tapes, and now he's cursed too, without Jack's knowledge. Later, though, Jack realizes what he has done, but it was already too late. Later that night, Jack sets up all the cameras back up and goes to bed. His brother sneaks into his room and watches the tapes. Now he's cursed too. Later that night, the Blank Man comes out of his hiding and grabs his rock and goes, aka disappears into the night sky. We are introduced to another character, but we don't know his name. Later in the film, we're revealed that his name is Nicholas Reeves, aka the first person Jack told about the Blank Man to. He walks down the street when he catches something in the corner of his eye. It was the Blank Man, standing there, menacingly. He begins to dart towards Nick, and Nick runs for his life, soon to trip and die off camera. Pretty sad. The next day, Jack goes on an innocent bike ride, getting a notification that isn't so innocent. Jack tries to see if this information was true, and did Nick really actually go missing? He was proven right. Nick really did go missing. A couple of weeks pass by, and Jack is planning a party for another character we are introduced to, Stan.
Oh my god!
He sets up a date and arrives at that date. The day of arrival, Jack gets ready but is interrupted by the Blank Man. He tries to fight back and wins. Wimp! His brother was curious about where Jack is going. Wow. Way to be nosy. There's a cool little scene that introduces us to Stan. Jack greets Stan and they sit down and talk about the creature in question. Jack at least warns Stan. Stan does not give up. After their little talk session, Stan gives Jack a few pointers and tips that would lead to foreshadowing in the future. Jack says goodbye, and on that quote from an Eminem song leaves. Later that night, Stan goes to bed, only to be greeted by the Blank Man. He does his laps behind the bed before finally hiding. The Blank Man catches him, and Stan tries to fight for his life, but obviously not hard enough. He never left the room. He died. Weeks pass by, and we are introduced to two more characters, Ron and Percival. Jack greets them. Jack confuses them by recording until they finally comes out about the Blank Man to them. Jack continues to talk to them, sends Ron over the tapes. Ron doesn't believe Jack, so Jack shows Ron the tapes. Percival believes him now, but Ron is still naive. He doesn't believe him. Jack thought that letting Ron get some fresh air would finally believe him. Nope. It was a terrible idea. In fact, he left his brother at home. His brother, Paul, walks downstairs and initially Onami, aka me, wanted him to hear the noises in the garage, but turns out my camera didn't pick it up. Anyways, PJ runs into the Blank Man. While acting like an NPC, Paul runs and hides. Just like an NPC, Paul hides, but is found by the Blank Man. Paul turns again, but trips down the stairs with no limbs and no head. He wakes up, but is slowly dragged into the garage, where he is finally killed. The gang arrives home, while Jack went searching for his brother Paul. Paul was missing, and Jack was worried. Ron tells Jack that he isn't missing. Jack was frustrated. The next scene, the gang can be spotted at the beach. Two girls walk by, pointing at her cameraman. LMAO! Jack is on the verge of a breakdown, but his friend tries to calm him down. Percival was making the problem worse. This made Jack angry. On the walk back, it was silent. The gang came back home, and Jack found a missing person poster about Stan. That night, Jack, Ron, and Percival were going to bed. Percival was on lookout duty. Unsurprisingly, the blank man showed up, but then left. Percival and Jack tried to tell Ron about the situation, but Ron still didn't care. It was now Jack's turn to be on lookout. Jack fell asleep on the job, and the blank man did his duty and dragged him into the garage, but didn't die. The next day, we can see Jack trying to persuade Ron to get out of the house and experiment with the blank man by camping. Ron was not up for the idea, but then he agreed. They gather supplies, then leave. Jack guides Ron and Percival to the path of the woods, filming his way there. When they arrive, we, the audience, realize that Jack was over-exaggerating. It turns out, it really wasn't woods. It was a small patch of trees that led to an empty parking lot space. They sat all their equipment down and Jack sparked a conversation. Not really a good one though, so his friends aren't bored. Jack and Percival try to cheer up Ron, but to no avail. Ron was not enjoying it. Jack eventually went snooping through the supplies, only to find out they forgot what to bring. Sad. Jack decides it's getting too late and lays down. Ron agrees, but misses home. Later on, Jack realized how bad of an idea this was and wakes everyone up. Ron was finally pleased they were going back. And with that, the gang was on their way back home. Well, not really. Jack locked the door and forgot to bring the keys to let them back inside. At this moment, Ron was angered. Jack apologizes for the inconvenience, and Percival was forgivable, but Ron wasn't really. He started a feud against Jack and Percival, which led to Jack being more apologetic. Jack continues to apologize, but Percival spots something in the distance. It was
The blank man.
the blank man was speed walking towards them. Scary scene for real. The gang takes a glance before they dart off, running for their life. This turns into a small montage. In the next scene, you can see the gang questioning their next move. Meanwhile, Ron finally believes them, but it was too late. Percival had an idea that Ron and Jack disagreed on. Could the blank man really be nice? Well, Ron starts to waddle right up to him. Meanwhile, Jack and Ron were both begging him not to. This lasted for a minute before Percival caught up to him. He gave him a hug and said, "He was nice." The blank man stared at him before screaming. Everybody covered their ears. This is loud, like really loud. Percival took one last look at the being before getting his head blown off. Jack and Ron were devastated at the sight of this. Blood from Percival's decapitated head spills all over Ron and Jack. This was a cue for them to start running. They run and run before Ron cleans off Jack by pushing him into the pool. And yes, by the way, the pool was very cold. They hide behind a house before Ron gives up their position by having his ringer on. This leads to the blank man finding them, and they finally start running for their lives again. Jack trips over a rock and falls. Ron runs past him so that way Ron can escape and the blank man can kill Jack and buy time. This wasn't the case. The blank man jumps over Jack and darts towards Ron. Ron is terrified and runs, while Jack gets up and runs to help, although it was too late. The blank man sends him to the void. And now Jack is covered in his friend's blood. He runs away, screaming, to Jack going crazy and frantically running around, finding a pool to wash all the blood. Kid, window man, keep him in mind later, watches Jack wash off the blood. He, Jack, sits down and reflects on what happened and what he just witnessed. The next scene, we can see Jack break back into his house and was in need of a shower. After the shower, he tries to sleep it off, the only way to get away from the trauma. He looks to his right to find the rock on his desk after going to bed for a little bit, taking a nap. Jack figured it all out. The rock was the Blank Man following him. He gets up, grabs the rock, and goes to the beach. He remembers what his old buddy Stan said. Just try to get away from the rock. Jack gets up, walks to the lake, and throws the rock as far as he can, and goes back home to sleep it all off again. He wakes up in the next scene to find the mirror displaced. Jack picks it up to only find that it has been written on. Jack stands in shock as the mirror projects what the Blank Man is trying to communicate to Jack. Jack is shocked and tries to get as far away from the mirror as he possibly can, aka he washes it and puts it up. Well, not washes it. No. Jack searches up the Blank Man. He finds the article about Joe Mama and Hunter Wilkes. He reads the article and found out he is going through the exact same thing they went through. Jack later gives up. He restarts his journey as it is like the next best thing for him, at least. I mean, not for us. For me, I would definitely make a different decision than he is right now, but that's okay. We can see that he is now sad, heartbroken from the events. He goes to bed later that night. We can see he is having trouble sleeping at all off. He begins to have a mental breakdown, and the scene cuts off. The next scene introduces us to an old character, Crisscross. Jack opens the door to Crisscross as he is invited to his room. Jack begins to strike a conversation, but Chris doesn't bother to listen. Instead, he ignores him until Jack brings up the Blank Man. Chris had enough of this and got frustrated with Jack. This also made Jack frustrated and they begin to argue. Jack begins to explain how his life is like a movie and Chris was fed up. He told Jack that's why nobody talks to him and leaves the house. The next day, or what's assumed of the next day, Jack wakes up to find Chris sent an apology about the day before and wanted to come over the next day. Jack puts the phone down, and once he has heard a noise, it wasn't just any noise, it was his brother PJ. Jack freaks out and tries to search for PJ, realizing he's in the garage. Jack finds PJ in the garage and is interrupted by the Blank Man. The Blank Man starts running after Jack, and PJ somehow disappears from Jack's arms. The Blank Man teases Jack before Jack runs and hides to his room. The Blank Man follows him as Jack hides under the sheets. The Blank Man finds him and screams at him. Jack is scared and wakes up the next morning. It was all just a dream. He's confused, he gets back to bed until the Blank Man stands over him. Jack lets one of the fakest screams ever before running off. He distracts the Blank Man and runs and hides again. The next scene, Jack can be seen on an air mattress and prepared as Chris plans to stay the night. He lets in Chris and greets Chris. Chris is a little sorry for the other day, but Jack is okay with it. So Jack begins yapping about the Blank Man. This time, Chris stays and listens until they are interrupted by the Blank Man.
Who's that? Is that the Blank Man?
He's not here. He wouldn't be here. It's literally daytime. Wait a minute. Blank Man only comes after Jack as he runs around. Chris is still scared of the situation and runs too. Jack took the opportunity to record the situation and yelled for Chris to record too. Chris records the situation too as Jack is stuck on the bed and the Blank Man grabs him, throws him at the wall, and Jack disappears into the void. Chris is shocked and the lights go off, cueing the end of the movie. Chris hides and the lights cuts back on. Chris is freaking out as he does not know what's going on. I'm spitting bars over here. He takes this opportunity to think like Jack and search for the cameras and turn them off, as this might be the way how the blank man could find them. Chris thinks of the audio tapes and he runs to Jack's computer and tries to turn Jack's Chromebook on. It was dead. He takes his phone and records, telling the viewers not to watch it, like he did at the beginning of the movie. The blank man sneaks up behind Chris, reaches his hand out, and lets Chris make his decision about his demise. Chris takes a second to process before making his mind up. He takes the blank man's hand and marries him! No. He disappears into the void, and the movie ends, giving us the end credits. But wait! There's more. After the end credits, the window man, remember him? Crawls up the hill, and the blank man, following him, and meets his demise. That's where the movie ends.
Hello everybody. I don't think you guys understand how long that took me. That took me along like 5 hours to edit, and like I had to like upload things, do all this other wacky stuff because my mic's broke, so I had to use another mic and I had to use the audio and re-upload it from there. So yeah, let's get into the kills. Well, the data. So as you can see here, we have 10 deaths in the film, all of them in which are boys. So we have like a big pie chart that's like blue. Sorry, this is like so much editing I'm gonna do, and I'm just like freaking out over it right now. But that's okay. So, okay. With the movie runtime being, I believe, 2 hours, 47 minutes, and 30 seconds, and we have 10 deaths, that's around, I would say, every 16.75 minutes. AKA like 1,005 seconds. Don't ask me how I know the math. I'm not a nerd. I had to search it up. So, yeah. Let's cut back. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the movie. I mean, it was kind of cringe to me, but you know, that's okay. It's my first project. I got another project I'm thinking about, in which you guys will know within the next 2 weeks. After I get everything situated. So yeah, happy Saturday, thank you for watching, and yeah. I'm done, I'm literally